Hi, this is kind of a weird video. This is technically part of the Friend or Farewell series. My friends were giving me characters from different video games I haven't played and like going, oh, give it a review. Do you think this guy looks like your fave or not? Are you interested in this character design? And I ended up like getting in a bit of a rut of like several in a row I ended up not liking, and it turned out they were all from the same game. So I think I may as well just get out of the way and like cover all my opinions on the Final Fantasy XIV characters. Maybe put them all in their own separate video. I kind of felt it was a bit too much of a downer to keep in the video because I didn't want to seem like I was being mean on this game in particular. It's just me personally, this isn't my kind of aesthetic, and I had a lot of words to say about it. But I just want to get it out of the way and like say my piece and like apologise to my friend if I'm not liking the characters she like, I guess. I have nothing against people who like this game or people who have different aesthetic senses than me. None of the opinions expressed here are like universal truths or anything. This is just me finding an excuse to go off on a good old silly ramble. So fingers crossed you guys will enjoy it, and like don't laugh too much if I make some ridiculously terrible silly mistakes or anything, because again this is me just reacting on my first reaction to stuff and like second-hand memes I've got from the friend in question. So I hope you guys can find some enjoyment out of this, whether you agree or disagree. And if you enjoy this game, keep on playing, keep on having a great time. Love you loads, guys. Thank you so much, Noah, for this really high-resolution image. But I feel bad that I don't really have too much to say about them. Like, I could immediately tell that this is from Nova because, like, things that from Final Fantasy XIV have, like, an immediate tell. You can immediately tell it's from that art style. And I kind of don't mean that in a good way. Like, the art style for Final Fantasy XIV is not my particular kind of thing. It kind of feels, in an odd way, like the characters feel samey even though they're not. Same face and like same kind of way they draw like bodies and outfits and stuff like that. There are characters that break the mold. There's been a load of other ones in later expansions and stuff like that. And mostly the NPCs look like nicely varied and everything, but like whenever there's an important character, they all kind of look like, I don't want to be mean, but they kind of look like a combination of like all the traits of like liked characters from previous Final Fantasy games. It seems like they maybe go a little bit too hard on trying to make them look cool. It's kind of similar to Wesker, but like obviously like leagues less bad. These designs here, they're perfectly likable on their own, but they don't really stand out as too distinct for me. Like obviously I can tell that these two characters are supposed to be like either like fraternal twins or just siblings who look very alike, but the problem is that also a lot of other characters also look very similar to these guys. Like it gets to the point where you can only really tell someone's related if they happen to have the same hair colour, otherwise you'd kind of assume everyone's related. I'm not sure if I'm explaining this well, but it's kind of a problem where like you try so hard to make every character look pretty that they all kind of look related instead. If that makes any sense. To me, as someone who's asexual, I'm coming at this from an outside perspective where, like, characters who sacrifice other types of character design trait for the sake of looking pretty, it doesn't work for me as someone who just doesn't really see the pretty. And I think that's more my own problem. It's just, I'm judging an art style for having a thing that is not really aimed at people like me and was never intended to be. But anyway, on to the actual designs. Well, they're like the wayfish elf-type people, and they're supposed to be pretty. I'm so sorry, I really don't want to judge these badly, because, like, Nova's, like, one of my best besties of the best. And I know she really loves this game. And, like, there's so much good stuff about the game, but I don't think that particularly the character design is just something that appeals to me very much. Like, quite often on Discord, Nova will be like, oh, come, look at this really cute girl, and then I'll be like, she kind of looks like all the other cute girls that you showed me, and then I'm really sorry. I don't mean to be mean like that. Wait, I've got it. I can sum up what I mean. They all look like the same person wearing different outfits. I generally couldn't even tell like which of these characters is meant to be a boy or a girl, if not for the fact that like the thighs are out, then that's probably the girl character. Like, to me, I'm not saying that's a bad thing. Like, I love androgyny. Like, I'm a non-binary person. I love it. But this isn't my personal kind of androgyny I prefer. Like, pretty androgyny. Again, me not being someone who particularly sees prettiness or is attracted to prettiness in any way or understands why it's appealing, I wouldn't really aim for that myself. I've said too many negative words, let's say positive words. Like, I really like the designs of the weird, scrungly weapons they have in Final Fantasy XIV. It's like, literally anything, no matter what it is, it'll have, like castle aesthetic on it, Like, everything has, like, spires and shapes and stuff like that. I can clearly see it here, like she's got some sort of, like, magical lantern crystal weapon, and it's all covered in, like, it looks like a what do you call it, an epaulette, hand guard from, like, you know, those weapons, those really thin swords, that look fencing swords, and they tend to have that, like, really, like, intricate, like, guard around it, and there's loads of, like, cool historical examples of stuff like that. That design is on that, like, candle lantern thing, but it's also on every other weapon they have. The book has a cover like that. Like, every weapon in this entire game looks like it would be incredibly impractical and uncomfortable to actually hold, but it looks so cool. Like, that's it. That sums up what I don't particularly like the designs of Final Fantasy XIV. They go for coolness above practicality. Or just like my definition of coolness is slightly different than other people's definition of coolness. I think probably if something came along and it had like all my definition of coolness, I probably also wouldn't notice how impractical it was. So I can relate. I really found that so funky, like the idea, like, the book is shaped like castle spires on the covers, and it seems to also have, like, candles stuck into it, and I'm like, wow, but also, like, and that's also over-design, that's it, that's the word, over-design, that's the problem. All the characters have, like, the same base, and then they just put lots and lots and lots of things on top of it, to the point where it all kind of blends together in your eye, and you have to zoom in and, like, look really close to even make out what stuff is, because it's just so many details on top of it. It's like what do you call that guy from The Incredibles, when everyone's special, no one will be. Which, in the movie himself, he was obviously wrong about that, but in terms of character design, sometimes that is actually true. If you try too hard to over-design certain parts of a character design, it draws attention to the parts that are not as over-designed. Like, here, like I said, very simplified, like, faces, body shapes, very just, we went and we did what is sexy to everybody. And then, like, the outfits are so cool, like, I really like the appeal of, like, having, like, a leather jacket over the top of, like, a long, either a long shirt or, like, a tunic or, like, a dress. I also find it interesting, like, the androgyny of the characters put on show by the fact that, like, they literally both have the same, like, upper outfit, but it's like it's drawn to be a dress on one of them and it's drawn to not be a dress on the other. But yeah, I have like a soft spot for that aesthetic of like having a short shirt combined with like a long shirt also underneath, like a dress with a jacket, or like a businessman shirt with like a short waistcoat over the top. Where it's like a contrast of like things that are normally sleeveless versus things that have really long sleeves. I don't know why, combining both of those together just looks interesting and nice to me. And again, it's a situation like, that's an example of why, like, some things I like, they're not practically just look cool. Like in that situation, you go like, why didn't you just wear one thing which has sleeves on if you wanted sleeves? So again, like, I'm trying to be reasonable here and think like that's probably the appeal everyone else gets from all of these designs. It's the sort of thing like you don't even think about how it doesn't make any sense because it just looks cool to you. And I get that. It's just the fact that by sheer coincidence, the stuff that Final Fantasy XIV thinks looks cool doesn't particularly look cool to me, except the way they design the weapons. I do like the colours here. There's the contrast of like them having like a bold primary colour for their shirt, but then like both the character themselves has white hair, and then also the rest of their outfit is like white. And I think it does look really well and good together like that. It helps highlight the colours of the shirts, which makes it easier to instantly tell them apart because like they're near identical twins and everything. I also appreciate they didn't go for like the very stereotypical colour coding that you would expect for like gender, like oh baby boy blue and like pinky pink for pinks. Like instead you have like a deep royal navy and then like a nice pumpkin-y orange. There's a lot of pumpkin-y orange in this particular. A lot of characters here will probably be great fashion friends. And again, like that kind of bold orange with like a creamy brown colour does go really well. But it also kind of means that she kind of like breaks the theming a little bit because like the boy dude, he is really just blue and white, that's his colour scheme, and then she's like orange and white and also brown. Which does also kind of muddle in because like the gold colour on her weapons is also kind of similar to the brown that she has. I suppose maybe that might be it, is like the design was made with the purpose of like making the weapons not stand out too much in her hands, or maybe like to make them more complementary because her weapons, they're glowing with orange the same as hers, so I guess it's supposed to be like maybe a design of like the weapons and the outfit have a similar colour scheme, in which case like he would be breaking the theme then because like his weapon is also the goldy brown colour and then his outfit doesn't. So maybe if on him you changed his like one shoulder armour to be also like a brownish gold colour, maybe it would work a bit better for him. But I don't know, I personally think that, like, the silvery colours work better on it. Like, I think both of them would look better if, like, their third colour was like silver, and then only the weapons were gold, so the weapons would stand out more. Because when you have a really complicated design weapon like that, you kind of want to make it stand out more. These character designs would be good as a character design exercise, like how you can draw like masculine and feminine versions of the same outfit. They're not quite the same outfit, though. I feel like they would kind of look better if like both of them were wearing like the long sleeved jacket with a short sleeved shirt. I'm not a fan of that like aesthetic of like having pointless armor that doesn't actually cover anything just on one arm. That's what I mean about the art style of Final Fantasy XIV feeling very... We took tropes that people liked from other Final Fantasy games and we just sort of like gave them to like everyone was... That also sums up, everyone looks like the protagonist of a game. Like in Final Fantasy VII, it works a lot better. That's one of the games where they have a lot of like impractical, silly designs, but it works a lot better because like other party members also have odd designs. They have different types of odd designs. It's not kind of the same kind of like cool unpracticalness. It's like 5 different cool unpracticalnesses. Everyone kind of seems like a mix of like Cloud and Ramza. Like the art style itself reminds me an awful lot of Final Fantasy Tactics. Like I don't want to be a downer, but Final Fantasy Tactics is kind of the art style I like the least out of any Final Fantasy, and it's not because of the designs. Like that was a game where the character designs themselves are great, but the art style doesn't really get me because, like, again, it's like everyone has a bit of same faces, and like the colours kind of bleed together with the line art and the stuff like that, and it's really hard for like visual acuity. It's hard to make out the details of what stuff even is. Like it's even worse in Vagrant's story, which like I don't know if it's the same artist, but it's a similar kind of art style. In that one, it became genuinely hard to tell what design anyone had because like they would blend in with the backgrounds. Like everything would be for so another reason why I don't really like Amano art because like again everyone blends in the background. When everything is equally detailed, it is really hard to make out what actually is the character. I feel like this design isn't really a good show off of what I mean because like obviously they're on a blank black background so they stand out really great and fine, but like when you're in the game like all the backgrounds are really interesting and like all the monsters are really interesting, all the characters are really interesting, and, like NPCs, protagonists, anyone, they all look like protagonists. Like the NPCs in these games are like so over designed, like they have more variety in them because like there are loads of like NPC only races and stuff like that which are more monstrous and less like sexy human, and there's characters like there's NPCs like you can have like actual like muscular people, chubby people, old people and stuff like that. I'm really going off on when I'm kind of only really talking about what I don't like about the art design in Final Fantasy XIV in general. I'm not really talking about the character. I guess to sum it up, I don't really have much to say about the characters. They are kind of just hitting my brain as nothing. I don't mean that in a bad way, I mean that in a kind of like, brain's so overwhelmed by details that I haven't actually been able to focus and like pinpoint anything about these characters' personalities in any way. They are just reading to me as like, boy pose, girl pose. Also, like, their names really also summarise that about Final Fantasy XIV, and like, it's the same problem I had with Final Fantasy XII, is like, again, everything is too much, so nothing stands out, and it gets really hard for like, mental comprehension. The same problem is like everything in Final Fantasy XIV is all written in like Shakespearean English. I'm like, I have no idea what anyone's saying. Like everything, no matter how important it is, no matter what the personality is of the person saying it, is like the most flouncy like theatre type speech where like you have to be like educated to be able to figure out what's going on or be able to figure it out from like context cues. I think from what I've heard it gets better depending on like which expansion pack of the game you're playing, but when I try getting into myself, like the level of like ye olde fantasy language in like every scene in like the opening hours made it really hard to comprehend what was going on, and the fact that every name blends into each other because again, like I said, just going for maximum cool means like 50 cool things at once rather than taking one thing and making sure it's like consistent and well developed. Alpha Nord, and Alice, Levulaire, Levalia. It's just like they're just syllables to me. Like you've made a name of so many syllables, and like there's no relevance. Like not relevance. Like there's no resemblance to like any real world reference names I can apply it to, except like I guess like the vague resemblance of like the kind of old and fancy names that people had in olden times. Again, like in theatre and like olden times science and theocracy and stuff like that. Lots of things that I am personally not experienced with, so I have no frame of reference. I don't really understand it. I do think that probably a lot of like me not being able to get into Final Fantasy XIV is just the fact that I'm not very educated on all these things, and these things were not designed to appeal to a demographic like me. So please don't take my negative opinions as like a knock on the game or saying you're a bad person for liking the game. It is just my personal opinions. I'm not the kind of person for this game. And also have words that I can understand as a person who, like, is really bad at, like, social comprehension, even in, like, real life regular talking with regular people. Like, you bring in a whole, like memorizing language rules from, like, 400 years ago, and I'm just like, I'm really not into it. Like, Final Fantasy 12 was, like, the first, like, Final Fantasy I really didn't like, and then ooh boy, I just, like, remember when everyone in that game used to swear by going, night soil, and I was like, if you didn't know what that meant, then you don't even get that character swearing in that context. You have no idea what the emotion of the line is, or the scene, or what's even going on. And definitely for smarter people than me. So, okay, that's covered my, like, addendum that I'm going to apply to, like, every other Final Fantasy XIV design I see. Let's get on to actually judging these designs. I think they work well as, like, a twin duo. They haven't enough about the designs that are similar, and also there's some things that are different. I don't necessarily think the differing things stand out enough to really make them clear what their different personalities are and everything, but I do think that is just a case of, like, mildly generic face on art, and or my prosopagnosia is acting up because I just have trouble telling faces apart when the characters look very similar like this. And also I think it is a good representation of, like, I don't know, like, an art exercise to, like, draw masculine and feminine versions of the same design, even if I don't necessarily like the philosophy of how they made them masculine and feminine here. It does kind of remind me of Harvestella, but in that game it kind of has the opposite problem. It's one of the first, like, proper mainstream AAA games I've seen which lets you have a non-binary option, but you do still only have, like, 2 binary bodies you can pick from. That's something I've noticed a lot, is, like, 99% of games which let you be non-binary, they still only have, like, very masculine, very feminine body. Harvestella had the opposite problem. They had 2 bodies which were, like, masculine, feminine body, but they look exactly the same. It was just the pose you did, which was, like, more or less feminine, and, like, it was so hard to generally even tell which was supposed to be the more feminine or the more masculine pose, because it was just, like, one is standing with, like, their arms and legs more bunched together, and one is standing with, like, more outward and confident. And I do kind of feel like that kind of aspect in particular is shining through here. It's a twin duo, and they're doing matching poses in a nice pose. I like the pose composition. I like the pose composition, and I like the colours. I don't like how everything's a little bit too complicated. And how it does draw attention, but like when I first glanced my eyes over this, I couldn't even notice that they had those, like I said, the bold colours of, like, one bold colour and then the rest is white. I couldn't even really notice that because, like, the level of complicatedness and how much, like, different colours are breaking it up. Like again, you like, if you look at it, you have like silver, you have, like, black, and you have, like, all of that, and you have these accessories, like loads of random, like, ribbons and belts in places that make no sense for ribbons and belts and are serving no purpose, and, like, whatever those spiky things are on her boot leggings, and like, so many folds, and, like, how many folds actually are on that guy's legs, because is he also wearing boots over trousers, or is it one long legging? Why is she not wearing trousers? Because they are literally both wearing the same dress. Gender, it's stored in the thighs. I feel like I would probably like these characters if drawn in a different art style. Maybe their features simplified a bit. I think they would look really good in fan art, but at the moment they're kind of a bit overwhelming. But I will give them a good rating. By the standards of Final Fantasy XIV, they're less overwhelming than other character designs, because they do have that good, like, that bold colour thing. Hello, this is Bonford from the future coming back in and editing this. Ended up making a random edit of, like, my personal preferences of what I might do for this design. Obvious disclaimer, this isn't like a fix-it design or anything. I don't think my idea is objectively better. This is just my idea of what personally appeals to me more in a character design. If you prefer the original one, then all power to you. And this character here, he also kind of sums up the problem I have, which is things being way too complicated to the point where they just blend together and you just see nothing when you look at them. This really sums up what I mean, because, like, the previous design, like you could still generally tell what's going on there. You could make out individual parts of the outfit. It's just like every armor design for, like, everyone is just, we will give you literally every armor design is every armor design. We will put together every armor we have ever seen in our entire mortal life into one armor. Like, if it wasn't for the coloured outlines here, I would have trouble making out even, like, which parts are which. Like, is that a cape in the back on? Is it, like, pauldrons on the side of his legs? Is it like some sort of long hair thing? Oh, it's just like, if they didn't literally have, like, a light-coloured line to go, this is where the foot stops and this is where the knee guard starts, I would not be able to tell. It is just all visual noise. It really sums up the fact that, like, you can put too many details into a design that becomes less detailed to the mind's eye, because, like, when you're just looking at this, you cannot make it all out unless you, like, stop and spend, like, 20 minutes staring really close and zooming in on the design. And I feel like that kind of design isn't suited very well for video games, because, like, you want to continue on with a plot. You don't want to just spend, like, a big old break from the plot trying to figure out what on earth this guy is wearing. And I feel like, again, that's kind of sums up why I'm not so much of a fan of Amano concept art, and why I like when they try and, like, directly communicate, like, the same design, but in a, like, an art style where it's more clear, like, what is what. Because Amano, like, he's a concept artist. He doesn't actually make the games, obviously. Like, what he draws, what he designs is just pure awesomeness. And it is that point of, like, it's so awesome that it's hard to understand. And that's what I mean about complaining about the other designs. Like, I'm not saying they're bad, I'm just saying that, like, they're trying so hard to be good that it becomes less understandable in my eyes, and therefore I can't really say it's good, even though, like, if any of these individual elements, if, like, you took them apart and you put them onto like 5 different separate designs with, like, other things to complement them, it might work well for me. Especially the fact that I use glasses. I have, like, a bit of, like I'm here wearing my glasses, I'm at my maximum visual acuity, like, abilities, and I'm still having trouble telling what's what. You can imagine how more difficult it would be to, like, view this design in motion in the middle of a video game in a lower resolution than the rendered concept art. Like, it also kind of bugs me how, like, they knew that, like, adding a different, brighter colour that really stands out and really highlights it would be good, but they also didn't really have an idea of, like, where to put it or anything, because that's the thing is, you have so much, like, bright, pointy, like, navies and blacks and stuff, and then you also have so much of the highlight parts. They could not sparingly do literally anything in this entire design. They had to do maximum everything. It all bleeds together. It's like there's so much in, like, every individual quadrant of this design visually that you just... Cause, like, does he even have, like comical, like, flame patterns on his knee pads? They're comically over the top flame patterns, but are also in the same colour as everything else. So, like, it blends in, but it, like, you'd think that would be supposed to be standing out, but it doesn't. It's all the same colour, and the only things that are standing out are the dividing lines to basically tell you, like, this is pants, this is not pants. There are more important places to put clarity in. How many belts does he have? Like, there's so much here. It really is just everything, regardless of whether it makes any sense to be in the design or not. Like, why would armor have like loose belts around? Like, look how loose they're, like the thing they're going over. Like, is that armor or is that skin? Because it looks like it's armor sculpted to be like abs. Like, so, like, is it supposed to be like a black undershirt under the armor, and the armor actually stops at, like, his titty level, and then, like, it's showing a black undershirt? But it's just the same color as the armor, and it's like, and then there's scarves, there's flag scarves on his waist, and there's, like, belts, there's 2 belts, there's, like, belts of buttons, there's belts of buckles, there's belts with pockets, there's belts of, like, again, a small little flame decal type thing, and it's just, like, you couldn't even settle for one of these things. With like, the light-coloured highlight things, you've got, like, every single possible pattern for it, and nothing is really, you've got, like, dragon wings, and you've got flames, and you've got, like diamonds, and you've got triangles, and you've got kunai type thing, and then, like, horns, unicorn horns and squiggles, and, like, there's an entire fucking lion head on his elbow, which is also a crescent moon. Please stop. But again, like, if you deliberately, like, walk far away from the screen and, like, unfocus your eyes so you cannot see the details, the basic thing you've got here is a good and evocative shape. The colours are good. But you have to ignore all these fucking details. You have to, like, mentally adjust this design in your mind to be a more simplified... Like, it's not even an art style. Like, I'm saying this, but, like, when the art style just is everyone wears too much stuff, then it's not really an art style, is it? Like, you could draw this guy in the same art style. Like, I feel like I've been saying art style to mean, like, design of how they draw costumes the entire time. Just mentally edit that back into everything I've been saying. Again, this is, like, almost comical how it is, because, like, you can see the guy's face looks perfectly fine. It almost looks like there's, like, a headless Dullahan who was just, like, put someone else's head on top because of how much it stands out from everything else in the entire design. Like, you have a simple man's head with just a regular hairstyle. He's just got a regular chin. And, like, there's nothing wrong with him from the neck upwards. And I'm just imagining that, like, if he put a helmet on, then I could not tell a single thing about this character at all. Like, I only really know from context to, like, Astinian! He's the Azure Dragon! That's all I know. Like, I know from context of my friends saying things about these characters, like, what their personalities actually are. This guy is a badass, and he's, like, he does a badass team up with some other badass guy and all that, but, like, just looking at his design, like, it gets to the point where, like, everyone's outfits are so bad, I can't even tell when a character's supposed to be extra badass, or, like, supposed to be, like, a super, like, why is he even called the Azure Dragon? Because there's nothing azure about his design. Like, you can barely even tell he's blue. It looks more like just, like, really, 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 really dark navy, to the point where, like, it all blends together, and it makes you think, like, this is just a black costume with navy for shading. And then, like, why is his weapon, like, a totally different shade, too? Like, it really stands out. Like, you have this design which is, like, really, 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 like, black navy, slightly greenish navy, really bright goldy silver highlight, everything really, really dark brown, really, 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 like, another different dark brown, really, really dark black, and then grey, and then black navy, and, like, everything within the same general, like, colour shading, with this other really, really standout colour slapped on top. And then you go to the weapon in the background, which, like, because it's in the background and because it has so many design elements in common with his armour, aka it's just covered in, like, completely random fucking spikes with no rhyme or reason, it kind of blends into the armour. I guess that maybe that's the reason why it has such a jarringly different colour scheme, it's just so it doesn't visually all blend together, but it does visually all blend together, because, like, the fact that they made it very contrasting means that there's even more visual elements going on all at once, and, like, it's covered in patterns and stuff, and it's like, like, it does kind of feel like just if they made that also navy, it would be hard to tell when his arm stops and when the weapon begins, so they just, like, grabbed the bit that is yellow on his armor and then shoved in red instead. So it's like, it's still navy, but it's a slightly different everything else attached to the navy. It's like we have a slightly, like, turquoisey hinted navy and then some red, and then there's just, like, it's really weird how it's just like it's a big blob of, I genuinely can't tell what that weapon is. Like, is it a spear? Is it a sword? Is it, like, a bat wing? Is it a gun of some sort? Is it all of these things? Is that actually his arm? Like, does his arm turn into a big, like, chunky demon arm or something? I think also the problem is that this design is, like, very evocative of Kane Highwind from, like, I haven't actually played many of the earliest Final Fantasies myself, but I'm familiar with what some of the most iconic character designs look like, and that guy, even back in that game, I thought it was very over-designed and hard to make out his details, to the point where, like, I cannot even, like, off the top of my head remember a detail about his design, except, like, he was genuinely the colour. That's no problem about when his designs are so complicated. You can't even, like, as soon as you look away, you forget every detail of it, because there's just so much. It's just so visually overwhelming. Like, all you will remember is just the colour scheme of it. And, like, probably if I drew, like simplified fan art of this guy, I would just, like, draw a big navy blob with some gold lines on it. But, like, even that design was already very visually overwhelming, but this design has just taken that and just made it 10 times more. I mean, it took a character who already, like, really didn't fit in with the cast of his own game from how overcomplicated he was, and they've just really, like, ripped his entire armor apart and cut into 50 additional pieces and then slapped them together with 50 other pieces from, like, 5 different entirely unrelated designs, and just, like, painted it over with sick ass flames like it's a hot rod. And I don't know. I could not tell you a single thing about this character's personality, if not for the fact my friend Nova has already shown me memes about him. I think I'm just going to leave it there because, oh my god, I am, Here he is, the only good man in the Final Fantasy! Of all the fantasies, there's no bigger, uncomplicated man than you! You've reached the top, the pinnacle of hugdom! Good going, Gratia! Your dreams have come true! I'm just repeating the same thing over again, but look at this. Like, this is one of the most simplified casual designs, and yet look at how over-designed he still is. Casual man in the comfy clothes. And then also, I hope that my footage is picking up my mouse, because I want to, like, hover over these things, take them all in individually. Like, again, when you look back and you unfocus your eyes, you just look at it, you're like, oh, here's a guy in like a casual, comfy shirt, and he's got like baggy, like slightly modernish style pants, and he's got like little trainers on, and he looks chilled out and happy. But then when you go look at it, there's so many unnecessary details that add nothing to the design coherence, and it is just like, if we put in a maximum amount of things, people will think it's cool. Like, why are his trousers all like weirdly bunched up to the point where it looks like, I don't know, like a Toblerone? Like, you think, like, that's where he's folded up his knees, but has he folded up his knees and he also has an identical second pair of trousers underneath it and he's folded them up again? And then, like, also he has, like, this random, for no reason, like, keychain diamonds hanging off, but then also these, like, weird, like, hair barrette things on his thigh, and then, like, his casual shirt is actually, like, 3 casual shirts over each other. You've got, like, a plain shirt, you've got, like, I'm not even sure, like, how it seems to be, like, a waistcoat over the top, but it's like the same length as the shirt, and the sleeves are the same length as the shirt. But like, only one sleeve is on, and the other sleeve is not on, and it's showing the white. But then also over that, you have a black cloak thing over there. But then also over that, you have like one backpack thing, but no backpack attached to it. And then you also have a belt, which is like leopard skin and like crocodile skin at the same time. But then also you have like underneath all that, he's also wearing another shirt, which is like a skirt belt shirt, and that's got like really complicated over, like, those look honestly like miniature dungeon maps just like drawn onto a shirt. Is that a scarf and also a cloak at the same time? And then also he has more keychain triangles on it, and also tassels, but then also around his neck he's got like 3 different necklaces also having keychain tassels and like entirely different designs for like equally complicated keychain tassels. But then also over the top he's got another necklace over the scarf which has like an entirely different tassel of jewels and stuff on it. But then also he's wearing these weird like hand-arm gauntlet things which are like half a glove and then also half a fishnet stockings, and then they're also like fingerless gloves, and then like, but then also he's got like a neck tattoo, and then also his weapon is like a complicated ice crystal thing on it. And just my mind is screaming to me to just take those details and just take them off and throw them into the sea. Like, how much more, like, this guy already, like, visually, it communicates so much more, much easier than the other designs. But, like, imagine how much more characterful it would be if you just took off all these, like, that sums it up. These are cool things that everyone has. It says nothing unique about the character. It also says nothing cool about the character because, like, every character just has, like, random designs drawn on everything, random keychains, random belts put on everything. It says nothing. It says nothing unique, and it's just everyone is protagonist syndrome. Anyway, to go back on what I like about this design, I like it's quite appealing to like the uniqueness of his design in a sense of like all his colours are very simple. On his like, obviously not the costume, because oh god the costume, but like on his actual like body design the colours are very simple. Like you have this guy, like his tattoo, his eyes, his hair and his cat features are all the same colour, and that seems like very unique to me. Like it gives him sort of like it's like it combines like him seeming like very normal and down to earth while also seeming like unusual and ethereal, because like that's kind of a trait. Like usually in video games the only time I'll ever see someone with like plain brown eyes, plain brown hair is if they're like an NPC character, or they're like a character who's like specifically supposed to be like down to earth and normal. But then, like, it has that vibe, but the fact that it's kind of a reddish, it's like in between red and brown kind of auburn colour, like, it's not even like, the fact that his eyes are also red, that stands out as, like, unusual, because, like, it isn't just, like, a regular ginger guy, it's, like, the fact that his eyes are all the same colour is used to make it, and it's interesting because, like, it's using a trait, the eyes and hair being the same colour, which is usually used to signify a down-to-earth character, but, in this sense, it seems ethereal and strange. It makes you think, maybe there's something up on this guy, maybe he's actually, like, magical in some way, which then, me knowing the context of his story, where vaguely I know from what Nova's told me, is like the context of this guy is like he starts off being like your normal friend character who is just a normal guy, and then you find out that like this corrupted villain guy is actually him, and then he has like, not going to go into spoilers, but it's like a big, really, really, really feelsy, dramatic story of like this guy feeling like his life is over and he have to like sacrifice and then stuff like that, and he's got very sympathetic reasons behind everything, and it is like him feel like he can't have a normal life. So then like this is his redesigned appearance once he actually does get the happy ending, I think. Because Nova's shown me other designs of this guy when he is in the villain mode, and it is quite like spoopy and stuff. So like this fits really well as a design for that guy in his like oh my god, he's finally been saved and he's finally regained a hope of having a normal life, because like he's wearing like it does make me laugh a little. Like, this is their idea of like a simple homely outfit, but you can tell it's supposed to be a simple homely outfit, which is like not ostentatious in any way, even though it is, because everything in the art style is ostentatious. If you hypothetically imagine this design without all the little extra details in it, you'd have a design where it's like a very simple, like homely, basic guy in like an ordinary, normal, casual man outfit. But there's this slight, like, off and slightly unusual aspect to him, and the fact that his eyes are red, and like he has this like really out of place crystal weapon, which from context I think like that's supposed to be referencing how he looked in his like villain form. He had like elements of those designs, to put it that way. Not going to spoil anything again, but like it makes it good. Even if you look at this guy with no context, you'd think like this is some sort of guy who like seems to be normal, but has some sort of like potentially like unusual past, and like some sort of like mystical and magical, and like it's good. And also he's just best boy. Like seriously, like he just radiates like I want to hug you energy, which again goes back to how everyone in this art style kind of looks very, very, very similar, with the fact that everyone is over the top and everything. Because like just looking at his expression on his face, you wouldn't really tell that like his personality is actually like best boy ever, like a really sweet and sensitive guy who's just like so happy to be experiencing like a normal happy life for the first time in like literal actual centuries, and like is like really apologetic and really like needs the help of people cheering him on to make him believe that he deserves good things, and just sweet. Like from his face you couldn't tell any of that, because he just like generic cool man expression, and like doesn't really communicate anything about that. And like you have to look at like the body language of the pose to really tell what his personality is actually supposed to be. That's my overall, like, this is a good design trapped in not necessarily an art style. I guess I'll say a design philosophy is what some of what I'm talking about. The outfits, man, the outfits. Like every character in the game just feels like a mannequin that they use to put outfits over, because the outfit's the only thing they can really make to tell them apart. But even then, I feel like that's the philosophy that goes into it, but I feel like they don't need to do that. They're overcompensating a bit. Like this guy, like even though he's got like the same body shape and the same general face and everything as the other guys, and really he is just like the same as the other guys, but he's a cat rather than an elf, then like despite that you can still communicate enough like through his choice of colours and his posture and his everything like that, and like the fact that he's wearing very casual versus they're wearing like very fantasy, like that all would be able to communicate enough difference with him without also like putting so much like everyone has to be the most different in the outfit, which means none of them are different. Because like any one of his designs would stand out really well in a lineup of people who had different design. You can't just have every character stand out equally as much, otherwise no one will stand out, and it will just become visually fatiguing for the player. Oh boy, that's something. I feel fatigued just talking about all. I'm glad we were able to end on a good note of me liking one of them. Even if my I like him is still like prefixed with a I like him, but also if he changes things I would like him even more. I tried doing some edits here of like personally what I prefer aesthetically from this, but to the extent of my abilities. Like here we have my first attempt, which is just like a more simplified version of the existing design. I try not to remove too many elements, but just to like lower the amount of them maybe, while keeping like the general like overall colour scheme like where it is. I'll call this the take 10 paces away and look with blurry eyes recolor. But then I was attempting to do like a bit more complex edit, and I just don't have the skills to do it, because obviously I cannot draw in this art style, because this isn't an art style I particularly like, and I am just no good at like semi-realistic anime like this. So all I can really do with an edit is like take and mix around the pieces we've already got. What I was thinking might look good is like if you just had like the red like coat-ish thing, but without the scarf cape thing and all the layers above it. But I'm not able to really edit the scarf thing off, because I would have to like redraw a whole like shirt collar, which I cannot do. I don't know how to do this art style. But I was able to do the opposite and remove the red coat and like double up the scarf and make it more like just a scarf and not a cape. But personally I don't particularly like this idea, because well, I feel like the red is like, it seems to be totally taken away from the design. It kind of takes away the kind of like comfy, casual, cozy guy who's just like chilling and having his good life. Like this looks a bit too much like, I don't know, cool guy thing going back in there. This looks like too much like final boss man going back in there. We want him to be cozy. So anyway, that led to this design, which is just a complete, like, this isn't like an improvement or anything, it's just a remix design just for fun, just going crazy, seeing what I could do with this idea of, like, all the black and white and, like, less red on the design. Oh, and the reason we don't have an edit for Estinian is because, like, literally all I would do with the edit is just, like, make him a bit more like Cecil, which wouldn't really be necessarily an improvement design, because it would make him less unique. Someone else can handle the making any sort of coherence out of that design. I am so sorry. Things are beyond my level. Drawing a realistic shirt collar, drawing literally anything on that armour ever. And so, in conclusion, I'm sorry, Nova, I don't really like the art style of the game you like. I'm gonna be honest. But it makes me really happy hearing about you liking the game and seeing all your happiness about it, because I really love it. The fact that me and my friends are very different and we like very different things. I like living vicariously, getting to see what other people see in this art design, this kind of stuff that I don't particularly like, and like being able to say, like, oh yeah, this does have appeal to other people, and like it helps me make them like a more well-rounded mind and morality and stuff like that. It reminds me of, like, my opinions are not objectively true. Other people have different preferences and different things they like, and like it's good to know the variety of the world, and like these are things I couldn't experience myself because I can't just pull myself out of my brain and see someone else's perspective. But having someone else describe their perspective to me it's super interesting, and like maybe what I'm saying might have that appeal to other people, and who knows. It can help you see the perspective of other people who don't have the same good character design abilities as you do. So go the heck on and continue being fabulous and enjoy this game.